The cargo ship Xiangjin was falling fast through the red sky of planet Kepler 44 to sea. Inside the ship, Kim Nari held tight to her seat as everything shook around her. She was the only person left alive on the ship. The other crew members had died when the ship's engine exploded 3 hours ago. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. The computer kept saying, "Hull breach detected," over and over. Nari knew she had maybe 10 minutes before the ship hit the ground. She tried to send one last message to Earth, but the radio was broken. The ship hit the rocky ground with a terrible crash. Metal twisted and broke. Glass shattered. The sound echoed across the empty canyon like thunder. Then everything went quiet. Nari opened her eyes. Her head hurt badly and she could taste blood in her mouth. Her left leg was trapped under a heavy piece of metal from the ceiling. She tried to move it, but the pain was too much. The ship's air recycler was making strange noises and sparking. She knew it would not work much longer. The planet outside had very little oxygen. Humans could not breathe here for more than a few hours. Nari looked at her watch. She had maybe 6 hours of air left in the ship, if she was lucky. For 2 days, Nari waited in the broken ship. She tried to call for help, but her radio was dead. She ate the last of her emergency food on the second morning. Her water was almost gone too. The air recycler stopped working that afternoon. She knew she was going to die alone on this strange world, but someone was watching her. The Cathani lived in the crystal caves under the planet's surface. They looked like tall, thin people, made of living crystal. Their bodies were clear like glass, but they glowed with soft blue light from inside. They had been on this planet for thousands of years. The Cathani had one very important rule that they never broke. They did not talk to or help creatures made of flesh and blood. They called these creatures soft ones and stayed far away from them. For the Cathani, touching a soft one was forbidden. Their leaders taught that soft ones carried diseases that could kill crystal people. But one young Cathani, named Harmony of Light, felt different. When the fire ship fell from the sky, Harmony of Light went to look at it. Most Cathani would have turned away, but Harmony of Light was curious. Through a crack in the ship's wall, Harmony of Light saw Nari inside. The human woman was very weak. She had not moved for many hours. Harmony of Light could see that she was in pain and would die soon. "This soft one suffers like we do when we are hurt," Harmony of Light said to 3 friends who had come to watch. Their names were Song of Dawn, Echo of Peace, and Resonance Deep. Song of Dawn made a worried sound like wind through crystal. "We cannot help her. It is forbidden. Our people will send us away forever if we touch a soft one. But look at her," Harmony of Light said. "She is alone and afraid, just like we would be. Does our laws say we must watch others die when we can help them?" The 4 friends talked for a long time. They knew that helping the human would mean big trouble for them. Their families would not speak to them anymore. They would have to live alone, away from all other Cathani. But as they watched, Nari tried to crawl toward a water bottle that had rolled away from her. She could not reach it because her leg was trapped. She lay her head down and started to cry. "I cannot watch this anymore," Harmony of Light said. "I will help her alone if you will not come with me." "No," said Resonance Deep. "If you do this, we do it together. We are friends." The 4 Cathani used their crystal power to break open the ship's wall. Crystal people could make crystal grow and change shape with their minds. They grew crystal tools to lift the heavy metal off Nari's leg. When Nari saw them, she was scared at first. She had never seen anything like the Cathani, but she was too weak to run away. Harmony of Light touched her arm very gently. The crystal person's touch was cool and smooth, like touching a river stone. "Do not fear," Harmony of Light said, in broken human language. "We help you." The Cathani carried Nari to their secret cave deep underground. Other crystal people saw them and made angry sounds. Some threw rocks. The 4 friends ignored them and kept walking. In the cave, they made a soft bed of crystal fiber for Nari. They gave her clean water, and strange food that looked like colored glass but tasted like fruit. Slowly, her strength came back, but the four Cathani knew their troubles were just beginning. By saving one human, they had broken the most important law of their people. Soon, the leaders would come to punish them, as Nari fell asleep on her crystal bed. Harmony of Light looked at the other three friends. "Do you think we did the right thing? Ask me in a few days," Song of Dawn replied, "when we know if we are still welcome in our own home." Outside the cave, angry crystal voices echoed through the tunnels. The punishment was coming. Nari woke up in the crystal cave for the first time and did not know where she was. The walls around her glowed with soft blue light. Everything was quiet, except for a gentle humming sound that seemed to come from the crystals themselves. Harmony of Light sat near her bed, watching her with eyes that looked like blue diamonds. When Nari tried to sit up, pain shot through her injured leg. Harmony of Light quickly brought her a cup of water that tasted sweet and clean. "How long was I sleeping?" Nari asked. Harmony of Light made some musical sounds that Nari did not understand. The crystal person looked confused too. They did not speak the same language. For the next few days, Nari and the four Cathani tried to talk to each other using hand signals and simple drawings. It was hard work. Nari would point to herself and say "Nari." Harmony of Light would touch their own chest and make a sound like wind chimes, singing other. Cathani came to the cave entrance sometimes. They would make angry, sharp sounds and throw small rocks. Nari could tell they were very upset that she was there. The four friends always stood between her and the angry crystal people, protecting her. "They hate me," Nari said one day, even though she knew Harmony of Light could not understand her words. But Harmony of Light seemed to understand her feelings. The crystal person sat next to her and made soft, gentle music sounds that made Nari feel less alone. After 2 weeks, Nari could walk a little bit. Her leg still hurt, but it was getting better. The Cathini had put some kind of crystal paste on her wounds that made them heal very fast. She wanted to learn more about these amazing people who had saved her life. She started trying to copy the musical sounds they made. It was very hard. Human voices could not make the same clear ringing tones that crystal people made. But slowly, she learned a few simple words. One day, while Nari was practicing her crystal talk, Song of Dawn came running into the cave, making frightened sounds. All four friends gathered around Song of Dawn, their lights flashing bright with worry. Harmony of Light turned to Nari and tried to explain using the few words she had learned. Gardens ... sick. Crystals ... dying. Nari followed them through the cave tunnels to a huge underground room. What she saw there made her gasp. Beautiful crystal trees and flowers filled the space, but many of them were turning black and crumbling. The healthy crystals sang with pure, clear tones. The sick ones made ugly, grinding sounds. This was where the Cathani grew their food and made the air they breathed. If these gardens died, the crystal people would die too. Nari looked closely at the black spots on the crystal plants. As a scientist who studied alien life, she had seen something like this before. On Earth, there were tiny creatures called parasites that could make plants sick. Maybe the same thing was happening here. She tried to explain this to her four friends, but it was hard with so few words they shared. Finally, she drew pictures in the crystal dust on the ground. She drew tiny creatures eating the crystal plants. From inside, the Cathani understood. Their lights flashed with excitement and hope. Nari asked them to bring her some of the sick crystal pieces. She used her small science kit that had survived the crash to look at them closely. Just as she thought, tiny creatures were living inside the crystals and eating them. On Earth, people used special medicines to kill parasites, but these were crystal plants, not regular plants. Earth medicine would not work here. Nari thought hard. What if she could make a new kind of medicine using both Earth science and Cathini crystal growing? She explained her idea to Harmony of Light, using drawings and the few crystal words she knew. For 3 weeks, Nari and the four friends worked together. They mixed earth chemicals with crystal powders. They tried many different combinations. Most of them did not work. Some made the crystal plants even more sick. But finally, they found the right mixture. When they put it on the sick crystals, the black spots started to disappear. The crystal plants began to sing their clear, healthy songs again. The four friends were so happy they made music together that filled the whole cave with beautiful sound. Even Nari tried to sing along with her human voice, but their celebration did not last long. Other Cathini had seen them working with the human. The crystal people were even more angry now. Not only had the four friends broken the law by saving a soft one, but now they were working with her like she was one of them. The punishment came the next day. The leaders of the Cathani came to the cave. They made loud, harsh sounds that hurt Nara's ears. She could tell they were very angry. Harmony of light, song of dawn, echo of peace, and resonance deep were told to leave the crystal city forever. They could never come home again. They had to live in the empty caves far away from their families and friends. As the four friends packed their few belongings, Nari felt terrible. These kind people had lost everything because they saved her life. She tried to tell the crystal leaders that her friends were heroes, but they would not listen to her. That night, as they prepared to leave for exile, Harmony of Light sat with Nari. One last time. "We do not regret helping you," Harmony of Light said in careful, slow crystal talk that Nari could understand. "You saved our gardens. You saved our people too." 50 years had passed since the crash on Kepler-442. Kim Nari was now an old woman with gray hair and many lines on her face, but her eyes were still bright and smart. She had become one of the most important people in the human space navy. Admiral Nari sat in her office on the space station above New Sol. The walls were covered with pictures from her long career. There was a photo of her shaking hands with the President of Earth. Another showed her at the signing of the peace treaty with the Altair colonies. But the picture she looked at most was a small one on her desk. It showed four crystal people glowing in a dark cave. Every year, on the same day, Nari sent a radio message toward Kepler-4 for to see. She did not know if Harmony of Light and the others were still alive. She did not even know if they could hear her messages, but she always sent them anyway. The messages were simple. "Thank you for saving me. Humanity remembers." Nari had spent 50 years making sure that humans were kind to alien species. She had written new rules for first contact. She had stopped 3 wars before they started. She had built schools to teach humans about other kinds of life in the galaxy. But now something terrible was happening. The trouble started on the edge of human space. A new enemy had appeared from the dark regions beyond the known stars. They called themselves the Vorthan Empire. The Vorthans were big, gray creatures with 4 arms and no mercy in their hearts. They wanted to conquer every world they found. The Vorthans had powerful ships and weapons that could destroy planets. They had already taken over 12 star systems. Everywhere they went, they enslaved the people or killed them. They did not care if a species was peaceful or dangerous. They took everything. The worst news came on a cold morning in February. Lieutenant Park Jisoo ran into Naras's office with a datapad in her hands. Her face was white with fear. "Admiral, you need to see this," Jisoo said. "The Vorthans have attacked the Cathani worlds." Nari felt like someone had hit her in the chest. She could not breathe for a moment. "Show me," she whispered. The report was terrible. Vorthan warships had appeared in the Cathani star system 3 days ago. They had not tried to talk or make peace. They had simply started shooting. The crystal cities on the Cathani worlds were breaking like glass under the Vorthan weapons. The peaceful crystal people had no armies, no guns, no way to fight back. They could only hide in their caves and sing sad songs as their homes were destroyed. "Why are the Vorthans attacking them?" Nari asked. "The Cathani have nothing valuable. They live simple lives. Jisoo pointed to another part of the report. The Vorthans want the resonance crystals, Admiral. The crystals that grow naturally on Cathini worlds. Our scientists say those crystals could make weapons 100 times more powerful. Nari closed her eyes. She could see harmony of light in her mind, glowing softly in that cave long ago. She could hear Song of Dawn's gentle music and remember Echo of Peace's kind touch when they healed her broken leg. How long do the Cathini have? She asked. Maybe 2 weeks, Admiral. The Vorthans are moving slowly because they do not want to damage the crystal formations. But once they secure the mining sites, Nari did not need to hear the rest. She knew what would happen. The Vorthans would take all the crystals and kill every Cathani they found. That afternoon, Nari stood before the Emergency Council of the Human Federation. 50 leaders from 50 worlds sat in the great meeting hall. Some were young, some were old, some were from Earth, others from colonies so far away that their suns were just tiny dots in space. Nari walked to the center of the room. She was old now, and sometimes her back hurt, but today she stood straight and tall like a soldier. Members of the council, she began, today I ask you to go to war. The room became very quiet. Humans had not fought a major war in 20 years. Peace was good for business. War cost money and lives. The Vorthan Empire is destroying the Cathani people as we speak, Nari continued. Some of you may not know who the Cathani are. They are crystal beings who live quiet lives on 7 worlds near the edge of our space. They have never hurt anyone. They have no weapons. They cannot fight back. Admiral Chun Minso, a stern man from the Mars colonies, stood up. Admiral Nari, we all respect your service. But why should humans die for aliens we barely know? The Cathani are not our allies. We have no treaty with them. Nari had expected this question. She had been preparing her answer for 50 years. 50 years ago, I was dying on a crashed ship, she said. For Cathani found me. By their laws, they should have let me die. Helping me meant they would lose their families, their homes, everything they loved. But they saved me anyway. She paused and looked around the room at all the faces watching her. They asked nothing from me. They expected no reward. They saved one human because it was the right thing to do. Now their entire species faces extinction. If we do nothing, we prove that human gratitude means nothing. The vote was not even close. All 50 council members voted yes. The largest human fleet in history began preparing for war. The human war fleet was the biggest anyone had ever seen. 500 ships flew through space toward the Cathini worlds. There were big battleships with thick armor and powerful guns. There were fast attack ships that could move like lightning. There were hospital ships ready to help the wounded. Admiral Park Min-ho commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Incheon. He was a tough man who had fought in many battles. But even he had never led so many ships at once. Admiral Nari rode in, her own ship, the Daegu. She was too old to fight, but she wanted to be there when they reached the Cathani worlds. She needed to see if her old friends were still alive. The journey took 5 days. Every day, they got worse news from the Cathini system. The Vorthan ships were destroying more crystal cities. Thousands of crystal people were dying. The beautiful songs that Cathini made when they were happy had stopped. Now, only sad death songs came from the planet. On the morning of the 6th day, the human fleet arrived. What they saw made even the bravest soldiers feel sick. The Vorthan fleet surrounded the main Cathani world like hungry wolves around a sheep. Their dark ships were firing red beams down at the planet. Where the beams hit, the crystal cities cracked and fell apart like breaking glass. Admiral, Captain Lee Dong-yoon called from his destroyer, Gwangju. I count 60 Vorthan warships. They have us outnumbered. Admiral Park looked at the enemy ships on his screen. The Vorthans had been preparing for this fight. Their ships were in perfect battle formation. They had strong shields and heavy weapons. They may have more ships, Park said into his radio, but they do not have what we have. What is that, sir? Asked Captain Choi Yuna from her fighter squadron. They do not have a debt to pay. The battle began when the human ships came within shooting range. The Vorthons turned their weapons away from the planet and fired at the humans instead. Space lit up with laser beams and missile explosions. The Gwangju was one of the first ships hit. A Vorthon beam cut through its armor like it was paper. Captain Lee knew his ship was dying, but he saw a chance to help. A huge Vorthon battleship was moving toward the planet to destroy a crystal nursery where young Cathini lived. If that ship got close enough to fire, hundreds of crystal children would die. All crew to escape pods, Lee ordered his men. I am going to ram that battleship. Sir, you will die. His second officer shouted. Better one ship than 1,000 children, Lee replied. The Gwangju flew straight at the Vorthon battleship. The enemy tried to shoot it down, but Lee was too fast. His ship crashed into the battleship's engine section. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the dark space. The crystal nursery was saved. Captain Choi led her fighter squadron through a field of floating rocks to attack the Vorthon ships from behind. Her small, fast fighters were hard to hit, but the enemy had many guns. One by one, her pilots were shot down. Dragon Leader, you have 6 fighters left, her wing commander reported. Then, we fight with 6, Choi replied. Remember why we are here. She thought about Admiral Nair's story of the 4 crystal people who gave up everything to save one human. If they could sacrifice so much for a stranger, she could sacrifice her life for them. For 12 hours, the battle went on. Human ships fought with courage that amazed even their enemies. When the battleship Seoul lost its main guns, it used its emergency thrusters to push a damaged Vorthon ship into an asteroid. When the carrier Busan was surrounded by 5 enemy ships, its crew kept fighting until their last weapon was destroyed. Admiral Nari watched the battle from her ship and felt proud and sad at the same time. So many brave humans were dying to pay a debt that started 50 years ago in a crystal cave. As the sun rose over the Cathani homeworld, the last Vorthon ships finally turned and ran away. The human fleet had won, but the cost was terrible. 150 human ships were destroyed, or too damaged to fly. Thousands of brave men and women would never go home again. But the Cathani were alive, down on the planet. The crystal people came out of their hiding places. Their cities were broken, and many of their people were dead, but they had survived. They sang songs of gratitude that rose up from the crystal valleys like beautiful music. Admiral Nari received a message on her ship's radio. It was in the crystal language she had learned so long ago, but she still remembered some of the words. Starwalker Kim Nari, the message said. This is harmony of light. I am old now, but I still live. Song of Dawn and Echo of Peace died, protecting the children. During the attack, Resonance Deep was killed yesterday, trying to guide your ships safely through our crystal maze, but we are grateful. Why did your people pay such a high price for us? Nari picked up her radio and answered in the crystal language she had practiced. For 50 years, because you taught us that kindness has no limits. Because you saved one human, and humans never forget their debts. The war was over. The debt was paid. 10 years had passed since the great battle above the Cathani homeworld. The war was over, but its effects would last forever. The Vorthon Empire had signed a peace treaty and promised never to attack peaceful worlds again. Human ships, now protected. All 7 Cathini planets, keeping them safe from any future enemies. Admiral Kim Nari was now 90 years old. Her hair was completely white, and she walked with a cane, but her mind was still sharp. Today was a special day. She was returning to Kepler-4 for to see the planet where her story began 60 years ago. The human transport ship, Jeju, landed softly in the same crystal canyon where her cargo ship had crashed so long ago. The twisted metal from the old wreck was still there, but now crystal flowers grew through the broken pieces. The Cathani had turned the crash site into a garden of memory. Nar. I walked slowly across the crystal ground. Her legs were old and weak, but she had to make this journey herself. Behind her walked Captain Kim Jinho, her great-nephew, and Dr. Park Somi, who had studied the Cathini language for 20 years. "Are you sure you want to do this alone, Admiral?" Captain Kim asked. "The walk to the memorial site is quite far. I have been waiting 60 years for this day," Nari replied. "I will walk there if it takes me all day." The memorial was built in the Crystal Valley, where Harmony of Light had first brought her to safety. It was a beautiful place, with tall crystal trees that sang gentle songs in the wind. In the center stood a monument made of both human metal and Cathini crystal, twisted together like two hands holding each other. On the monument were carved the names of everyone who had died in the war. Human names and Cathini names were mixed together, showing that their sacrifice was shared. At the bottom, written in both languages, were simple words: "They saved each other." Hundreds of beings had gathered for the ceremony. Human soldiers stood next to crystal people, their different kinds of life united by the same memory. Children from both species played together, not caring that some were made of flesh and others of living crystal. But Nari only had eyes for one figure near the monument. Harmony of Light was very old now. The crystal person's light was dim, and their movements were slow. They were the last of the four who had saved Nari so long ago. Nari walked up to her old friend and placed her wrinkled hand on the crystal surface of Harmony of Light's arm. Even after 60 years, she remembered the cool, smooth feeling. "My friend Nari," said in the crystal language, "you are still here. I waited for you, Starwalker," Harmony of Light replied. Their voice was like distant wind chimes now, soft and fading. "I wanted to see you one more time before my light goes out forever." The ceremony began with speeches from important people. The President of Earth spoke about peace between different kinds of life. The Cathani elders sang a song about friendship that crossed the stars. But the most important moment came when Nari herself stood to speak. She looked out at all the faces, watching her human faces and crystal faces, young and old, soldiers and civilians. These people had come from across the galaxy to remember what happened here. 60 years ago, I was a young woman dying in a broken ship, Nari began. 4 strangers found me. By their laws, they should have left me to die. Helping me would cost them everything they loved, their families, their homes, their place in their society. She paused and looked at Harmony of Light, who was glowing a little brighter as they listened. But they saved me anyway. They asked for nothing. They expected nothing. They simply did what was right, even though it would destroy their own lives. The crowd was completely quiet. Even the crystal trees had stopped their singing. When the Vorthans attacked the Cathini worlds, humanity had a choice. We could have stayed home and been safe. We could have said that alien problems were not our problems. But we remembered for crystal people who gave up everything for one human stranger. Nari's voice grew stronger as she continued. 5,000 humans died in that war. 150 ships were destroyed. Families lost their children, wives lost their husbands, parents lost their sons and daughters. And we would do it again tomorrow, because that is what it means to be human. We remember kindness. We repay debts. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. After the ceremony, Nari sat alone with Harmony of Light under the crystal trees. The sun was setting, and both of them knew this would be their last conversation. "Do you ever regret it?" Nari asked. "Saving me cost you and your friends everything." Harmony of Light's light flickered like a candle in the wind. Song of Dawn died protecting crystal children from Vorthan bombs. Echo of Peace died bringing food to families trapped in collapsed caves. Resonance Deep died guiding your ships to safety. Do you think they regretted their choices? Nari smiled. No, I think they died knowing they had lived good lives. Then you understand, Harmony of Light said. We chose love over law. We chose courage over comfort. We chose to help instead of hide. These are the only choices that matter. That night, Harmony of Light's light went out peacefully, like a star, fading at dawn. They died knowing that their one act of kindness had changed the galaxy forever. The Kimnari Institute for Interspecies Relations opened the next year, dedicated to teaching the lesson that started in a crystal cave. Compassion knows no species, and debts of kindness must always be repaid.